Greetings once again, folks. So yet another session and or series rather, and yes, I had some very unfortunate news over the weekend that one of my very dearest friends, Odélle Hadnum, had passed away fairly recently in Ireland. And yeah, so this artwork and this series is dedicated to her memory. So yeah, wherever you are, Odélle, thinking of you, love you, and will miss you dearly for the rest of my life. Yes. So yes, I dedicate this piece to her, and or to you. And yes, so this time, you know, I've been contemplating a skyscape for some time, and I haven't done a pure skyscape as yet. I've done lots of landscapes with focusing on sky, etc. But this is the first time I'm attempting a purely skyscape, well, cloudscape really, with a bit of sky. And I had actually been contemplating this for the past couple of weeks and wondering, should I, shouldn't I? And then when I heard of Odélle's passing, I thought this is the perfect opportunity to do so, given the expansiveness of the sky, and wherever she may dwell. And I thought, well, you know, we see shapes and things in clouds. We lie on the grass and perhaps look up into the sky and contemplate the clouds and their shapes and what they represent and what have you. Just as we do with the ocean, just as we do with fire and so on, watching rainfall. And I thought this is a great piece to actually just sit and contemplate Odélle's memory. I'm not going to talk much about it, but you know, because that's a private thing, and I'm sure that her family wouldn't want to hear all what I think and what have you. But I think that just applying myself to this piece in her memory will suffice. So this is for you, Odélle. My first skyscape, cloudscape. So starting off with, as I normally do, with setting up the charcoal aspect of it, as well as, you know, in this case we'll start off with a little bit of white chalk pastel as well, and just setting the scene, so to speak. So of course there's no solids in this. There's no structures, there's no land formations. It's just clouds in all of their magnificence, I hope. So I'm going to set up here with, I've done a rough small sketch which I'll apply myself to, and so we get this piece going now, and then basically this is a doodling piece. This is just having fun, and a celebration of what's above, what's beyond, perhaps, and of course in this instance in particular of my dear friend Odélle. You know, when we have those little emojis that signify thinking or whatever, it's a little cloud, little cloud bubble thing, speech bubble thing. And that's exactly what this is. This is a little dedication a little contemplation. I normally do, obviously, as many of you would know by now, I do always share my thoughts and feelings and what have you as I'm working. And gosh, in particular now, I've been doing a lot of thinking about life, about friendship. And I haven't. My huge regret is that I didn't get to say goodbye, but beyond that, I haven't actually had a conversation with Odélle since her and Sean and the two boys left South Africa for Ireland around Christmas time last year. And we had connected on Facebook a couple of times, but basically on posts and comments and stuff like that. That was about it, and I didn't think anything of it. I had no realization, of course, that there was anything amiss with Odélle, and of course she doesn't. She's one of those kind of wonderful people that they don't want to bother others with their woes and their troubles, and so, and I also respect the wishes of the family not to why I hadn't been told, which is absolutely fine and understandable, and all we have now is memories, but and wonderful memories. I can't tell you how wonderful. I had known Odélle since I think we first met. I first met Odélle back in, I think it was circa 1989, and and I just remember this wonderful bubbly nature of hers, which never ceased, and still hasn't ceased, mind you. And I just remember this wonderful happy smile that she always seemed to have. She was always one of those sort of gregarious people who just didn't take things seriously, didn't get brought down by stuff, oh my word, she was the last person to get ruffled about things, and that was her through and through. We connected again later on. I think it was into perhaps the mid-90s, and we connected properly then. I think it was my friend Ingrid who reintroduced me to Odélle, and that's when we struck up a real friendship. And that's how I always remember Odélle. So one of my dearest friends, and such a wonderful soul. My heart goes out to Sean and the boys, really, because she must be such a devastating loss. Such a strong person, powerful nature, powerful, creative, exceptionally talented creative as well, and so there's not much more to say about Odélle. I'm sure I will say more, but But for now, I'll leave it be and just focus on getting this piece going as I contemplate Odélle's life. Well, her existence, her three-dimensional existence. And because, of course, even though it's a great loss to many, Odélle's in a happier place, or she's in a safer place, in a place of peace. But she lives. She lives, and whether it's in spirit or just in memory, Odélle will always live on in that respect. For many of us, for all of us, that hold her dear. And we all, to all of us, I think Odélle means something different to each and every one of us, and that's special, because that makes her multidimensional. That makes us all multidimensional, really, because there isn't only one version of us. There's me, and there's other people's version of me as well, or there's multiple versions of me. So that's rather wonderful when you think about it, because with that, how can you ever really die? How can you ever really disappear, vanish forever? We disappear. Our physical form might be gone, but I was just thinking the other day, after I heard this news and was contemplating it and all, is that how can I miss Odélle any more now that she's gone physically, when she was out of my physical presence, and when you think about that, I mean, for most of us, that anyone that we know, how much actual face-to-face reach out and touch them contact do we have with anybody? Odélle was, I don't know, 10,000 k's away, and yet her memory now, or when I think about her now, is the same when she was here to when she's not here with us anymore. But of course it makes a whole lot more difference to her immediate family, because of constant physical presence, etc., and of course having gone through with her what she was suffering, etc. So yeah, it's, I guess I'm waffling, but what I'm trying to say is that we are just as, Odélle to me is just as real now as when I might have been in her presence. And I think that's perhaps a way I like to remember all of my friends and family, past, present, because the only certainty is death. The only certainty is that we pass on, but that's only one dimension of who we are. Only one small facet, and even then, is that reality? Our physical presence, is that reality? That's the question I have to ask. And Sean, if you do happen to be watching this, and I don't know if you will, yeah, my heart is with you and your boys. and maybe you'll take something from that, from what I've just said, because Odélle is ever present, and we're all ever present. Anyway, enough of that. Why did I choose sky? And this time because I thought this would be a really good way to really remember Odélle's presence and her wonderful benevolent effect on all of us. Because the sky, the clouds are ever changing, changing in form, changing in shape, changing in message, and it's almost like the sea. You know, this is why I love watching the clouds. Today has got some very, you know, I looked outside today, or stood outside rather, and I even took some couple of pics of the clouds this morning, and wonderful. Occasionally you get these wonderful displays of artistry. Sometimes it looks like brushstrokes, wisps of clouds, and what have you. And you realize the ever-changing nature, and of course it changes much like the sea does. It's not static, never static, but it's much slower. Everything seems to slow down a pace, and that's actually quite lovely, because time is of no essence when you're just watching the clouds. Same as when you're watching the sea, but there seems to be much more of a moodiness, and things happen more rapidly with the sea, with the ocean. Whereas the clouds move at their very, very slow, sedate pace. They morph and change in front of you, but very slowly. Time stands still. And much like, I guess I'm working on this piece, it's coming together, but slowly as I work on it and as I talk, and yeah, so I thought it the perfect opportunity to actually work on a cloudscape. I always thought it might not be that interesting, but this particular one might be. So I'm just setting up the basis of light and shade before I begin adding color. And I know Odélle's favorite combination of colors is much the same as mine. It's a kind of an ultramarine versus a pale blue versus almost a wheaty yellow, and I'm going to be using those colors and a little bit of lilac, and instead of the wheaty yellow, I'm going to, well, I might, I'll see what happens, but maybe instead I'll use a more vibrant yellow, but just a touch here and there. So this is, again, I am casting a nod towards Odélle's favorite color scheme. Doesn't look like much now, but when I start adding color in and bringing in a little bit of line work and form and what have you, it will start to take shape and tell a story, a deeper story. I may or may not use some acrylic in this piece, because thinking about it, the white, I normally only use my white acrylic with seascapes, and that to accentuate the highlights of, you know, for example, the foamy part of the wave, it really is quite intense, the way it reflects the light, etc. But here we've got much the same. Here we've got some quite intense light. We haven't got the, obviously not showing the sun, but the sun is in here, and it's showing up in streaks and rays of light, but also reflecting and bouncing off the bottom of some of these clouds. So I will contemplate it, whether or not I'm going to use some acrylic. I might well do that. So let's see how it goes. A lot of squiggly doodling in this piece and a lot of blending, because there are so many, even if you look up in the sky, well, you see clouds, but then if you look closer, there are some such subtle little nuances and changing shapes and little flicks and wisps that form on the edges of the larger clouds, etc. And then there's this deep dark shadow formed by the bulk of cloud that is perhaps heavy with condensation, ready to rain. Other clouds are light and playful and all in the same kind of cloud bank, so to speak. And this is just one aspect of it that's just sort of passing by, whichever way it's going. I kind of sense this movement in that direction, looking up, looking out, looking positive, and all of those lovely things. Some of these darker areas, the much darker areas, I'm going to work quite heavily with my charcoal still before I add the color on top of it, so that would still give it that basis of depth. And you'll still be able to see a little bit of the charcoal beneath. So I'm working layers here, really. As you can see, I'm smoothing this out so it becomes fairly flat and formless. But as I work over these layers, so we'll find that it'll what on earth did I just do? Golly. I set my time. I must reset this. I meant for 45 minutes and it should have been the other direction. Silly me. Right. So we're going to go to there. or something like that. I don't know, whatever. I probably will just go over time anyway, but I do assume that this is going to be a 2-session piece in any case. Right, that seems better. I was just looking at it now. I thought, oh, but we've passed the time already. Anyway, okay. Right, so now working a little bit more with charcoal, and you can see as I add this on, it forms another layer. And I can bring a little bit more form into it, shape within shape. Seeking to deepen the color as I go. I'm working in a circular motion because by and large I will use straightish lines, but then I'll blend them as well. But here I'm just working in a circular manner just to cover some ground and cover some sky rather. And I can also chop and change between in my technique between clockwise and anti-clockwise as I go. I'm going to use my ruler. I very seldom do this. I am going to do it in this instance because I have a specific source of where the light is, where the sun is, and where it catches the edges of the clouds and casts either a shadow or or a reflection into the sky. It's a specific direction. So I need to just, instead of doing it freehand and from an imaginary, I just want to do it, and I'll do it further later on, but I just want to get the idea of it for now. There we go. It's very, very rough, but anyway, that'll suffice for the time being. Hardly even worth mentioning, really. And it's amazing how when you lose somebody like this, and you realize how, when was the last time I spoke to them, and what was the last contact that we had, and you realize how quickly time just flits by, and then you realize how irrelevant time really is. How long do we get to spend with somebody? It goes by in an instant in the greater scheme of things, and yet the memory lives on eternally. The memory is, or the energy of memory is form, and is the makeup of everything. So we can reach out to these people, past people, pets, whatever, whoever, at any time. We can reach out anytime. I mean, I do often. I reach out to my dad, who passed away more than 12 years ago. I reach out to my dear friend and mentor, Rod Finney, often. Just a thought. It's just a thought. You know, I wonder what Dad would have said, or I wonder what Dad would have done, or you know, what remark would he have made it, and in that moment, he's right there again. And I think that's what memory is for all of us, and that's what reality is for that matter to all of us. And somebody comes to us in a dream, that's every bit as real as it is if it were physical. Every bit as real. So it begs the thought, what is reality? What is reality other than our own creation? We create through thought. Therefore, when we think of somebody, we create their presence, their essence. That is at any time. Any time of our choosing. You know, those times when we think of somebody and they appear. Well, they appear as much in spirit as in form, as in three-dimensional form. So I can only assume that I'm working with this, as I'm thinking of Odélle, she's here. She's here. She's maybe in one of these clouds. And she's as much a part of this piece, in creating this piece, as I am, as my tools are. So that's how we keep these memories alive and real. And make of it what you will, because, and don't believe a word I say, these are my interpretations. I don't expect anyone to adhere to them or support them or anything. I'm speaking as the thoughts arrive. Right, I think it's time to bring in a little bit of blue sky. Let's bring it up on the top here. And I want this wonderful ultramarine. A very lovely lapis kind of color. That is what ultramarine is derived from, the lapis stone mineral. And I know that Odélle loved this color. I'm going to blend it in with a little bit of pale blue as well as lilac, and just getting the basis going here. Right, let's get some lilac. Let's lay down some lilac, shall we? So I want this part of the sky to be this rich blue, fading towards this quadrant down here. We've got these lovely shapes, negative and positive shapes, and even negative within positive shapes. But up here we have this richness of blue, this expansive blue beyond. Hello, little sage. Hello, little sage. Did you come to say hello to us? There we go. There's little sage. Hey, little Finn is sleeping in the dining room. So Sage has been sleeping in the bedroom, but now she's come to say hello. Or whatever. Hey, my girl. Right. Let's bring in a little bit of the blue. This sort of powdery blue. And I'm maintaining, the only reason I place these sort of lines in is to make, because I want to keep that vignette, that outward perspective, that growing out into this. I mean, if you can imagine the clouds, this cloud bank, and then beyond that into infinity is this wonderful, almost iridescent sky, canopy, bowl. So even though it's just a cloudscape, it's really not much different to a seascape, because there's these wonderful shapes going on, and it tells a story. All of this tells a story, and even with these little subtleties of changing colors and so on. It all tells a story, and it tells a different story to each and every one of us. You might see something in the clouds, you might see shapes, and you might recognize something that I won't. And that's the beauty of perception, isn't it? It's the beauty of observation and language. You describe to yourself what is represented before your eyes, and your story and what you see is perhaps infinitely different from the next person. And that's the magic of choice. So I believe that there is a global problem with WhatsApp today. People, thousands, probably millions in fact, of users find that their WhatsApp is not functioning, myself included. So initially I thought, oh my goodness, they've gone and shut me down again for no apparent reason. But not, it wasn't so. So we're back to using Telegram once again. Keeping Telegram on standby. Yeah, as I've said before, I think this whole thing, the way social media as we know it is going to change. It has to change. It has to become more accountable. It has to become more real, more human. This artificial intelligence business is I won't say it's taking over, but it has the potential to. Goodness me, when we're allowing it, all of us, and every day something arises that, you know, like my big challenge with having lost Facebook, Instagram, and then WhatsApp in a short space of time, just completely closed out. And the fact that I could not address my queries to anybody, to any person, I could not state my case. After all, I had invested 14 years or so, 15 years of my life in Facebook. Well, an aspect of my life in sharing photographs and posts and thoughts and showcasing my art, and we never own any of it. That's the bitch about it all, because we're told, and we're not given a choice, but we don't own it, and that is horrendous. And that's why I firmly believe that in time it has to change, because power will always overcome force, and we're being forced to I don't know, I sound like a damn conspiracy theorist now, but this continuous cycle of events that keep on arising, these shutdowns, and if you think of the amount of influence that these massive social media networks have over humanity, amount of leverage, of control even, it's just not right. And I think universally it cannot sustain. They become too big, too powerful. That's starting to take shape quite nicely, getting that richness of blue there. Let's bring in a little bit of the where are you? Okay, let's bring in a little bit of this, if I can get this damn label off. So one of these pastels I'm always bitching about, that can't seem to rid myself of the wrapper properly. It's got too much gum on it. Okay, I don't need that colour up there, that's for sure. Okay, right, I'll use it elsewhere. I really want to punch the vibrancy and the depth of this blue sky up in this corner, up in this quadrant, so that it really, well, it pops, but it will also be balanced by these other darker forms over here. But the essence of blue is here, is in this part, and this growth, or this expansion into this this deep indigo, ultramarine sky. This alone tells its own story. Right. How are we doing for time? Goodness me, have we passed that 45 minutes already? So what? We'll just push it through to an hour, and I can't even remember where the hour was. When did I start this thing? I need to check my timer on the camera to see where we are. I've lost track of time altogether. 49 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll push through. We'll push through to the hour. Let's just set that up. There we go, around about there. Gosh. We do always lose track of time when we're having fun, and we get immersed into something, a subject. This is exactly what I was saying earlier about time. It's actually not relevant, other than the restrictions that we place upon it. Time is not of the essence. Time is not relevant. Being is relevant. I mean, time is a human construct. We all know that. And I guess it's another form of control, really. That's convenience, yes, but it's also control, because if you look at a bushman, for example, Khoisan, in his or her natural habitat environment, time is not relevant. It's day and it's night, and we live our lives according to that. Patterns of wake and sleep, of hunting and gathering, but primarily it's about a celebration of the life that we live in this moment. That's what life really is. It's not about the time spent. It's not about the time lost. It's about now. It's about now. And it's about now. Points to ponder. Like I said, don't believe a word I say. Right, I'm going to now start using my eraser a little bit. I'm using the flat side of the eraser to smooth and blend this sky pot here, and a little bit more than I have with my fingers. I'm sure I shall add to it again later. I've used 1, 2, 3, 4 different blues and a couple of different lilacs and so on already. I'm still working, because the more colors I put in, the more hues, Huey Lewis in the News, that I bring in, the more depth this sky takes on. In this wonderful spectrum of blue. Let's come back to and it vignettes down to an almost white. In this lower left hand quadrant. I'm using my white to just soften the blue a little bit. I'll be going over it again, just adding layer upon layer upon layer. That's really all I'm doing. So, deceptively, this piece takes quite a lot of time. Talking about time. Yes, so it has taken more time than I had anticipated for it to, which is great, because that means it's telling me what it needs. Maybe it's Odélle that's telling me what it needs. Well, I like to think that anyway. Gosh, you can hear the crested barbet. I don't know if you can, but it's there. And it's fairly close. Trilling away. Alright, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to just take up this piece again for the next session. It might even take a third session, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But, anyway, thank you for joining. And of course, Odélle, if you're there, saying hi, wishing you well, sending lots of love. And yes, so dedicated to the memory of Odélle, and we'll continue this piece again further tomorrow. So thank you for caring, thank you for sharing, and please, if you're newly hacked upon my channel, please, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell icon, so that you get notification of any future uploads that I might post. So yes, meantime, oodles and oodles of toodles, and be good, be kind, be gentle, be caring, be loving, etc., etc. And we'll see you again next time, folks. Meantime, have a fantastic day ahead, and do take care. Bye then. And don't forget to doodle.